Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, the multidimensional DJ Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3 Jimmy. It is Wednesday, May the 22nd, 2024, and if it is Wednesday night.
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So if you haven't already, please hit that like button to help with our numbers. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so when we upload new shows, you'll be notified. And you don't have to do all three of those in order, but you need to get all three of them done. And you need to get them done right away. If you haven't already, if you're watching the show live, a family member or a friend, co-worker, so you guys will have something interesting to talk about. To Liquid for providing our theme music. And it's another great show with Mr. Tommy Duncan and myself. Now, for myself, Tom, even though I have universal knowledge, I do my best to bring it down and strain it and refine it so the common man can understand what's going on. So we provide this great service, folks. So we're not for play, but we are the leading, I believe, the most progressive show on the internet, on social media, dealing with issues that pertain to Black people. With that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, man. Let's bring it to the people.
Well, all of us common people, including myself, will forgive you for that statement. So we will go ahead.
Nothing wrong with being common, Tom. I was common once. Before I became multidimensional, I was common, so nothing wrong with common. Some of my best friends are common.
All right, we will start out with our birthday babies for this week, starting out with the beautiful, multi-dimensional, and talented Naomi Campbell. For those of you who have been out there for a while, you know that she has a birthday today on May the 22nd. Started her internationally renowned modeling career at the tender age of 8 years old. She was one of 6 models during her generation to be declared a supermodel by the fashion industry and, of course, by the international press. The first Black woman to appear as a model on the covers of both Time magazine and Vogue. She also embarked on a very fruitful venture into music, film, and television, and of course, also hosted a modeling reality show called the Face Jimmy. There's a lot that you can say about these young ladies, but she was, really, in my earlier age, one of those sisters out there who just revolutionized the entire industry, because we had not seen a sister out there that had, of course, plenty of melanin, darker hue. We already know that they were the most beautiful women in the world. And finally, the rest of the world caught up in acknowledging sisters who were rich, dark-skinned, and had plenty of melanin in their skin.
Well, Tom, there are lots of walls out there that hosted her pictures. So any magazine that you can find with shots of her, I'm sure there are a lot of men out there, young boys, teenagers, who had her pin up on the wall. So congratulations. Happy birthday, sister.
All right. The next birthday baby we have coming up, it's a gentleman that we probably have all seen, whether we are young and old. He was a native, of course, of our great state of Texas, also of Dallas. Grew up to become a multi-genius, a creator.
Oh, look at that guy.
A serial entrepreneur, a technology guy, and, a man of all seasons. DJ Stewart, his birthday is tomorrow. So all of you out there that have JR in your Rolodex, make sure to wish him a happy birthday tomorrow. Hopefully you'll get out and do something and enjoy yourself, or just relax and do nothing, which is really what I prefer to do on my birthday, is do absolutely nothing.
I'm with you, T. That's exactly what I'll be doing this weekend. So absolutely nothing tomorrow. And then I have some family members who are coming over this weekend, and we're just going to have a seafood boil and relax.
All right, that'll work. Well, hey, my good friend, enjoy yourself. And hopefully you won't have to do any cooking, Jimmy, because I know you typically do a lot of cooking, right?
Everything's going to be in the pot, Tom. That's why it's a ball.
All
Keep
right.
it simple.
All right. Good deal. Next, we have a living legend and
Oh,
modern day diva who has a birthday coming up on the day after yours, Jimmy. The great Patti LaBelle, commonly
oh man,
referred to
you're right.
as the godmother of soul, uh, a dramatic ultra soprano recognized for her vocal power, modal register range, and emotive delivery, who began her career in the early 60s, but has made music and made millions throughout all decades in several different areas, Jimmy. You know, she, of course, for those of you who have been around for a while, may remember that group, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. After the group names changed to LaBelle in the 1970s, they released the popular #1 hit, Lady Marmalade. She
Hmm.
also began, of course, a successful solo career, became a mainstream solo artist in 1984 following singles If Only You Knew Love, Need, and Want You, Who Can Forget, New Attitude, Stir It Up. And less than 2 years later, in 1986, she scored a #1 album, including the #1 hit, On My Own, with Michael McDonald. I mean, absolutely phenomenal hit that I remember back in the day. In 1982, won a Grammy for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance for her 1991 album Burning, including the songs Somebody Loves You, Baby. I remember that. Feels
My
Like
favorite.
Another One. Yep. And When You've Been Blessed. She won a second Grammy for the live album Live One Night Only. Also found success as a modern actress with a role in Oscar-nominated A Soldier Story. I completely forgot about that, Jimmy. And in TV shows such as A Different World and An American Horror Story. In 2015, she took part in a dance competition, Dancing with the Stars. I don't watch that much TV, so I don't even remember her in Dancing with the Stars, which I never watched
I
anyway.
don't either.
Yep.
I started
She,
watching
oh,
after a few seasons.
yeah, she found success launching her own branding of bedding, cookbooks, and of food for various companies. But in 2015, for most of you younger babies, she launched her Patti LaBelle sweet potato pie, Jimmy. And, you know, that for all of the folks who may not have known her for all of her greatness during the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, she became known for her sweet potato pie, which, of course, was sold in Walmart. Over a 72-hour period, Jimmy, Walmart sold one patty pie every second.
Well,
Amazing.
Tom, you can't forget she also makes peach cobbler, which is what we buy at least once a week around here.
Now, I did
Um,
not know she made peach cobbler.
oh, Tom, the Patti LaBelle peach cobbler, man, you gotta try it. And then during the holidays, she makes a special one, which is basically more cinnamon and it's even sweeter. But yeah, if you like her pie, you definitely got to go out and get the peach cobbler. Well worth it.
Okay, I may have to do that. Well, during all of this, Jimmy, and we could go on and on, but she has sold over 50 million records worldwide during her career. She's been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the Black Music and Entertainment Walk of Fame, and the Apollo Theater Hall of Fame. She was included in the Rolling Stone and one of the list of 100 greatest singers of all time, Jimmy. She would have to be, in my humble estimation, on that list of 100. She would have to be one of the top 10 if they
Yeah,
have.
easily, Tom. Yeah,
So,
easily. So
early happy birthday to the Queen. I don't. For those of you Aretha friends out there, I know she's the Queen of Soul, but Patti LaBelle, she
well, they can
is.
both be queens, Tom.
Yeah, she's called the godmother of soul. I guess Aretha was called the queen of soul, but I would say a 1A and 1B. Both of
Yeah,
those sisters can straight blow.
I mean
So
both of them
early
are
happy
great.
birthday. Enjoy your birthday weekend as well. Patti LaBelle, of course, everybody loves you and adores you and give you your roses while you are still living. All right. Our next birthday baby has a birthday coming up, actually on Memorial Day. Someone that several of us, especially those who watch this show, he is a great Pan-Africanist, writer, speaker, thought leader, world traveler, and expatriate that we've actually had on our show multiple times. And he is also a contributor to and a friend of Black Men Speak, our good friend, the Asar Al-Kabilan.
All right. Happy birthday.
Yes,
I'm in
sir. His
good
birthday
company
is
this
actually
week.
coming up. His birthday is actually coming up on Memorial Day. So for those of you who may have Asar or Uncle Asar in your Rolodex, in your phone, make sure that you wish him a happy day on Memorial Day while you're eating your ribs, your turkey, your chicken, your brisket, or whatever you're eating on Memorial Day. All right, folks. Last and definitely not least, we've got another beast of a singer who has a
Okay.
birthday that's coming up on May the 28th. The great Gladys Knight.
Oh,
Some of you
Gladys.
may
All
know her,
right.
some of you may know her as Gladys Knight. Some of you, of course, know her as the Empress of Soul. She recorded hits throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s with her family group, Gladys Knight and the Pips, including her brother Merrill Bubba Knight and cousins William Guest and Edward Patton. Some of you who may kind of keep up with this, this is, of course, back in the day when everybody knew they had to be G'd up and dressed, if they were going to represent, regardless of what their talent level was. But of course, Gladys Knight was the lead singer of Gladys Knight and the Pips. She recorded 2 #1 Billboard Hot 100 singles, Midnight Train to Georgia, and That's
Yeah.
What Friends Are For with Dionne Warwick, Sir Elton John, and Stevie Wonder. She had 11 #1 R&B singles, 6 #1 R&B albums, 7-time Grammy Award winner, 4 as a solo artist, and of course 3 with the Pips as well. And of course the list goes on. She has recorded 38 albums, which blows my mind, including 4 of those being solo albums. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Vocal Group Hall of Fame with the Pips. 2 of her songs, I Heard It Through the Grapevine and Midnight Train to Georgia, were inducted to the Grammy Hall of Fame for historic, artistic, and significant values. She's also recorded the theme song for the 1989 James Bond film License to Kill. Stone magazine ranked Gladys Knight as one of the 100 greatest singers of all times as well. And she is a recipient of the National Medal of Arts and Kennedy Center honor. And again, her birthday is coming up on May the 28th, early next week. Found a picture of the 2 queens, Patty and Gladys. Jimmy, I would love to see them both sing together. Before I die again, I'm pretty sure that they have already, Jimmy, but both of them can blow.
Well,
So
Tom,
those
you
are,
know what? Since we started this segment of the show, I have to say, in my honest opinion, unbiased, of course, this has to be the best lineup for the birthdays we've had since the inception, with the number of all stars that have been lined up this week. So I
yeah.
feel in great company to be born this week.
Hey, you know what? You and us are. Hey, y'all going. I had to line y'all up. I had to line you
Boy,
and us
look at
up
that.
with the best of the best.
I
Y'all,
know you did a good job, Tom. I
yes,
mean, this is a good week to be born. Great
absolutely.
company.
Absolutely. All right, Jimmy. It is a quarter of the way through the show. So now it is time for our competition that we started a couple of
Okay.
weeks ago, Jimmy. It is, I'm going to let you explain what the
I
rules
may need your help to explain.
are.
So anyway, we consulted the legal department, which we do have one, we do have a lawyer that we consult with. And Tom, I don't know if this is going to be any better than we did already, but we'll give it a try. So here's what we're looking for, people, on the contest: the name of the song and the artist of record. The artist of record is not the person who sings the song; it's the who owns the rights to the song. So if it's a Destiny Child song, Beyonce may sing the song, but Destiny Child is the artist of record who owns the actual song. Or if it's a Jackson 5, it could be Michael Jackson singing the song, but the group, the Jackson 5, actually owns the song. So we're looking for the name of the song and the individual or the group who actually owns the rights to the song, not necessarily who sings the song. So with that being said, I hope that clears it up. Everybody get ready, fingers at the ready, go to the keyboard, because here come our first song. And maybe we'll do this, Tom. Why don't we just give a hint that this is an individual, so it's not a group. This is an individual, and maybe that'll help. So if we just identify whether it's an individual or a group, is what we're looking for. So with this first song is going to be an individual. Everyone should know this song. So let's get ready. Tom is our judge, who's monitoring the chat line, and the first two correct answers will get credit for this song. Here we go.
All right, folks. So let's get ready.
To be a grand tower alone on the sea, you became the light on the dark side of me. I've remained the drug that's the high, not the pill. But did you know when it snows, my eyes become larger? The light that you shine can't be seen. Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on a grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. Da 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 da.
All right, Jimmy.
What say you, Tom, Mr. Judge?
Hey, I have already, let me make sure I double checked everything. I have already gotten a response in from Uncle Asar. Seal, Kiss from a Rose.
Bingo.
He got both
Tom,
of them.
You got both?
So
Uncle Asar is on the map.
So it was the song Kiss from a Rose?
That's it. That's correct.
All right. Well, that means he gets 2 points for both the artist being Seal and the name being Kiss from a Rose. Now, I will give, of course, a second place to Brother Frederick Roberts.
Okay.
Who just put in the Seal. And then, of course, Miss Tanya Hall, Seal. Miss Chastity Christian, Seal as well. But they came in a little bit after Uncle Asar, so he gets the credit for both of them. But
wow.
He's kind of behind.
Asar must be a good typist, Tom. Got those fingers going.
Yeah, he's kind of behind. So now he's in the game.
He's in the game. He's on the map.
All
I
right.
believe Tanya is still in first place. Is that correct?
I think so. She is. She is.
Okay.
All right, and let's acknowledge a couple of our folks who are on the chat line right now. Ms. Audrey K. Booker, Cudron Hodge. Good evening and thank you for joining. Ms. Dominique Vinings out of the Atlanta area.
ATL in the house.
Yep. Ms. Tanya Hall, thank you for joining us this evening as well. Let me see, we have Miss Chastity Christian out of the DFW area. Thank you for joining as well. Of course, our good friend, Brother Frederick B. Roberts, Esquire. And thank you for joining us, Ms. Boise Scott from Columbia. Ms. Grime Kitty, actually she has a statement. Hey, do you guys give advice? My friend Troy is going through some tough times and need advice. Of course we do give advice. So you will, if you can put some questions out there and we'll see if we can accommodate them. Don't wait until 5 minutes before the show is over with if you have any questions. And I believe that's all we have. Hopefully we'll have a couple more folks on the chat line before we end our show. And what we, of course, also ask, if you haven't done so, make sure you like this show so we can get things spinning and get this information out to more people. Like it. If you've not, of course, already subscribed, do that, but definitely like this show.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy. Let's get to our core stories today. We have got a lot of stuff to cover, and we're actually going to catch up on a couple of things today. Our main, probably media stories today, of course, we're going to do a part 2 to what we started talking about last week when Dr. Umar started cutting into the Black church and what he feels is a couple of things that they could be doing a little bit better on the lack of responsibility given what they get from the Black community. And then, of course, also we've got to talk about what's going on in the entertainment industry and what's been happening with Diddy and give our thoughts as to what's been happening and what does need to be happening. But before that, we got to make sure that you are the most informed and the smartest folks on at least a few stories that are happening in the Black community. So let's get this party started.
Let me ask you this before we get started.
Yes.
We've had Dr. Umar on this show.
Yes, we
I
have.
believe once or twice, but we know definitely once.
Yes.
And we've supported his effort, donated to his school, bought his books, which I bought like 5 for my family and gave away.
Cool.
But let me ask you, in your opinion, for not necessarily for us or people who watch the show, but do you think his message is too real for the Black community at a whole?
And when you say too real, what does that mean?
It's too much. When you have that kind of self-reflection, like for instance, I know when I was younger, I think I was pretty much sort of headstrong that way also. I talked quite a bit about what was wrong with the Black community, not realizing that when you do that, you turn people off sometimes. Because not necessarily everyone appreciates hearing what they're doing wrong or what they're participating in as being wrong or they're thinking is wrong. Sometimes people want to hear a little more positive message. So I'm just asking you, in your opinion, do you think maybe Dr. Umar is just a little too truthful, a little too real for his message to get across widespread to the Black community?
What I would say is that he is very insightful. He's not afraid to address some of the issues that really need to be talked about that probably a minority of people are truly talking about. The thing that I would always say, regardless of how folks may cringe in airing out some of the so-called dirty laundry, if you want to call it that, the key is providing constructive solutions and inspiring people to do something about being in the mud, getting out of it, and of course, really, when it comes right down to it, for me, it comes down to, do you control your destiny or do you not? And what are you doing, for instance, in the case of this past video that we were looking at, what are you getting for a return on your investment? I know a lot of times you've talked about, I don't know if this is the exact term, but folks who have been lifted up as leaders for our community in particular, by folks who have no interest in our community whatsoever. He is not what I would consider to be a mainstream elevated leader for the Black community. Some people follow him, some people don't. Some people, really connect with what he's trying to say. Of course, some people do not. So I don't think he's too real. I think he probably appeals to a smaller community than some of the mainstream leaders that are lifted by other communities that may or may not care about us.
Well, we have 2 videos tonight for Dr. Umar Johnson. One talks about very touchy subject, Tom, the white Jesus up in the Black church. And then the second one is one of the topics you just kind of hit on, that we're going to continue how Black folks make billionaires out of folks who do nothing for our communities. That we invest heavily in their brands and their products, and in return, they don't even like Black people. So, and so I don't know if you remember years ago when the what was her name, the jean maker, designer Vanderbilt, who said,
Vanderbilt, I don't make this for you.
Yeah, her jeans and pants are clothing not made for Black people or Black women. Well, she didn't have to worry because, I wouldn't buy her products anyway. I don't think she makes anything for men, but if she did, she wouldn't have to worry about me spending my money supporting a person who claimed that her products are not from me or my people. So she wouldn't have to worry about me whatsoever. But where do you want to start? Do you want to go to the first video?
Why don't we do this? Because I have a couple of stories that I wanted to kind of share to make sure that people are aware of. I'll try to make a little bit as much as possible. Try to
So
be
you have some
efficient.
other stories I want to go first. No,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and jump to those stories then.
All right, good deal. And this is actually something that we've talked about before, Jimmy, but has come back up. And this is really relevant to probably any and everybody within our community. For those of you who have heard of Henrietta Lacks, her family and her descendants and the estate, the Henrietta Lacks estate, has filed a lawsuit against one of the pharma giants, pharmaceutical giants, that is, whose her famous HeLa cells, HeLa stands for short Henrietta Lacks, were used to literally build, of course, the pharmaceutical industry as we know it. They can now move forward with their lawsuit against pharmaceutical giant Ultragenyx in their ongoing fight to be compensated for an unlawful use of Henrietta Lacks' cells, which were the foundation.
I thought the lawsuit was settled. Is this another lawsuit?
This
Or different?
is about this particular company, for this particular company.
Okay.
For the foundation of many advances in modern medicine. On May the 20th, U.S. District Judge Deborah Boardman denied Ultragenyx's motion to dismiss the case. Boardman ruled in favor of the plaintiff, that is the Lacks estate, believing that their case was strong enough to proceed. And Lacks, taking some historical context, who suffered from cancer, sought medical treatment at Johns Hopkins Hospital in 1951, one of the most renowned hospitals in the country, if not the world. But without her knowledge, her cells were cut from her cervix during cancer treatment. The cell line was the first to survive and reproduce indefinitely.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably a misstatement to say without her permission. You can't have surgery on someone without them giving you some kind of permission to operate. But
this is 1950s. These are the 1950s, Jimmy. So
right.
we're
So
not
you go in and then it's not like today where you have to sign 10,000 documents when you go into the hospital. You go into the hospital and you're sick, and you may get rushed to a surgery without getting all the proper documentation in place. But the thing that was special about her cells, normally cells don't live outside of the host body.
They have a very short shelf life.
So that makes it very difficult to test treatments against cells when you can't have a living specimen to do these tests against. Her cells were unique in the fact that they were able to live outside of her body, which made them probably, Tom, the trillion-dollar cells at that point. And I would think that the companies that have replicated her cells, that have continued to now, Tom, this is in the 50s, and these cells are still living today. They still have these cells growing, replicating to do tests again. That's just how unique they are. You would think that those cells would have died off a long time ago. But I would have thought that all the companies who are involved in medical research that have made billions and not trillions off of these cells would have come to some kind of understanding, agreement with the families and dealt with this. The fact, and I think we covered this story where maybe one of the companies had settled.
Thermo Fisher Scientific. That was last year.
So I think there are 3 companies involved in all. Is that right? 3 total?
I don't know the total number, but Thermo Fisher, I believe, came to a resolution last year. This one is Ultragenyx. It's a $3-4 billion pharmaceutical company. And what you've got to understand is when you consider the wealth that was created on the foundation, on her cells, her bloodline, so to speak. And, for the most part, Jimmy, her family, her descendants were living in poverty during all this time. And of course, they took, without her permission, her internal cells and have been building billions of dollars of wealth for the pharmaceutical industry since then. And so her family, said enough is enough. We're tired of you creating all of this wealth, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry, and most of her descendants have gotten no benefit from it. So the judges said, proceed. Let's move forward. You can't make billions of dollars and then give absolutely nothing.
Right. They do the right thing and settle this lawsuit, Tom. But the other thing, Tom, I want to mention that's kind of related to this, and this is not to segue necessarily away from the story, but the vaccine industry, another multi-billion-dollar industry, which primarily comes to us from aborted fetuses, and Black women are the largest contributors to that particular industry. But I doubt that Black women get one check from the that entire industry for their contribution. So we got to keep in mind that there are a lot of industries and companies that probably benefit off of you and your contributions that you're not aware of. So if you learn what your rights are, understand where you are positioned in this whole thing, and if someone's going to benefit from you, your body, your cells, any parts of your body, make sure that whatever you're compensated with, that you're okay with. And if you're not, then look for alternatives or fight for your rights. So, with that being said, Tom, let's get back to the story. I'm sorry.
All right, and I will finish that out. Anyone who wants to learn more about her story, her phenomenal story, there is a book that we have read, both of us, Jimmy, called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks,
Yes,
written
we
by
have.
Rebecca Skloot, Skloot, and it will tell you the phenomenal story of an unfortunate story about what happened to Henrietta Lacks. All that being said, we wish her family the best of luck and hope they get something positive and constructive out of it. Let's go to our next story, Jimmy, which I found very interesting, and I personally kind of understand this story. Out of the state of Alabama, 10 former and current inmates of the Alabama Department of Corrections have named Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, their Attorney General Steve Marshall, prison commissioners, parole board leaders, cities, literally, and companies, including one that we all know, who they claim rely on forced labor. Jimmy, it is a class action lawsuit. Some of the companies that are named in this suit, in addition to McDonald's itself, include KFC, yes, that's Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, Hyundai supplier Ju Young, and beer distributor Bama Budweiser of Montgomery. All the defendants have accused of all of the defendants of the plaintiffs have been accused of trafficking, racketeering, violating the Ku Klux Klan Act, targeting conspiracies that strip people of their constitutional rights. The landmark class action lawsuit challenges that they and their supporters describe as an unconstitutional forced labor scheme in Alabama's state prisons. Let's unpack this a little bit. What they allege is that the state, of course, is disproportionately African American in terms of their incarceration population, that the state is intentionally exploiting them and denying them parole for a profit. The suit, which was filed in Christmas or right before Christmas of last year, alleges that the companies conspired to profit from their works and literally seeks to, in their suit, abolish a modern day form of slavery. Upon telling the prison supervisor, one of the plaintiffs, LaKeria Walker, said she was sick, literally had the flu, and was told to get up and go make our 40%. Because guess what? The state gets 40% of the contract value. And so in 2022, go ahead, Jimmy.
So, Tom, to fully understand this from a higher perspective, you have to go back in time to after when slavery ended.
Correct.
And the southern states began to pass what's called the black laws, the black codes, I'm sorry. And the black codes were laws that didn't make any sense, that you'd almost arrest anyone for being out after curfew, for gambling on Sunday, for buying, drinking liquor, doing church hours. I mean, really silly stuff. But the whole purpose of the black codes were to be able to round people up and incarcerate them. And then once they were incarcerated, the state wouldn't want to house and feed them. The state would then sell them out to farmers and to companies, the railroad company being the biggest of them. And here's the thing, Tom, the black codes and what happened after the black codes were worse than slavery. Because as a poor white farmer, maybe I don't have $500 to buy a slave. Maybe I don't have $1,000 to go to auction. But you know what? The state is selling black people to come work my farm for $15 a month. So I can afford $15. And if I work this person to death, I mean, literally, they would die on the farm. You could do whatever you wanted to them. The state didn't care. There was no enforcement to say you committed murder, that you had to treat this person humanely. And if they ran away, escaped, then they became a fugitive of the law. So the black codes were horrendous, Tom. Most states got rid of their black codes during the 1920s and 30s. But some of those laws are still in the books, as we see. And so we need to be mindful that these laws still exist and that they're still selling laborers, most of whom are black, out to these
Yes,
companies. And so, Tom, this is not just something that just happened here recently. This
correct.
dates back to the 1800s, and this is still going on. And so we need to all speak up. If you live in a state that have any of these black codes still in the books, you should be reaching out to your representatives to get these laws taken off, because they still are adversely affecting people who are in prison. Now, not that I'm a champion for people in prison, Tom, but they have some rights also. And as you're paying for whatever punishment the courts deem that you need to pay to be repatriated back into society, you shouldn't be treated as a slave during that process. So they shouldn't have the right to just sell you out to someone else to make money off the process and not pay you any of the money also. So,
And to give you some context, audience, and this obviously is a little bit dated, but Alabama is one of the poorest states in the country. In 1898, I guess that's about 3 decades after, of course, the Emancipation, so-called proclamation, convict leasing fees, which Uncle Asar just alluded to, made up 73% of Alabama's total state revenue. And so this suit charges that all the defendants with violating Alabama's state constitution, which as of 2022 bans slavery and involuntary servitude, as well as the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, and the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. So, I mean, this is something that we're going to definitely keep our eye on, something that I found pretty interesting. Alabama, among several other southern states, very, very high rate of convict leasing in order to so-called save the state money and to make other people money.
and Tom, where are the black churches to lead the way on this? Where is the NAACP, the Urban League, Rainbow Push, Action Network? Where are any of these organizations to lead the way? And this is something worth protesting, or Black Lives Matter, for that matter. This is something worth protesting and fighting for, to bring awareness to and attention to. Why is everyone, when it comes to doing the right thing, so silent, but when it comes to just tearing up our neighborhoods for the wrong reason, we quickly jump on board?
Well, you always, and this is a common thing, but it's as true as anything else, follow the money, and that will answer typically your
So
question.
there's no money in fighting for justice for these prisoners.
Well, I'm not saying that there
It's
isn't.
not just these 10, Tom. It's all of the prisoners who've been incarcerated in these states for a long time. We're talking over 100 years now.
With the exception of places like New York, most of the states that have a significant population of course, prisons and jails, southern states, of course. Brother Frederick Roberts, Texas still has prison farms. I've seen them personally because I've worked in this industry. There are 2.3 to 2.4 million people who are incarcerated in state prisons, federal prisons, jails across the country. Of course, 40% of them look like you and me, Jimmy, even though we only represent 13% of the population. And so when you go back to these black codes, when they use the law to find ways to warehouse black bodies to pretty much generate free to almost free labor, this is the use of the law that is still on the books to literally continue the institution known as slavery in order to generate more wealth for not just the government, but corporate America, because a lot of government entities make money and or save millions of dollars off of this free labor, in addition to companies that we just named a little bit earlier. So this is something that we have to keep an eye on, and more importantly, to raise hell about and do something about. And to your point, we'll talk about church, Jimmy, in a couple of minutes. But with that being said, before we get to our other story that we've got to get to, I want to give a quick graduation shout out to a young sister. This is more of a local story, Jimmy, so I got to give her a shout out.
Okay, what we got?
A young lady who recently, a North Texas student, makes history as Texas Women's University's youngest graduate at 16 years of age. Her name, by the way, is Hannah Taylor Slitz. She walked across the stage in early May, earning a degree in sociology, but her education won't be ending there. She actually has been accepted in the Texas Women's University's PhD program in sociology. And her brother, by the way, Ian, graduated high school at age 12. Hannah was adopted. She was from Ethiopia. Her biological mother from Ethiopia died from tuberculosis, and she also had TB, but her adoptive family was able to build her back into health. And like her siblings, Hannah was homeschooled. We've talked about this several times.
You know, homeschool or charter. That's amazing, that trend. More homeschool than anything else is where these kids seem to be accelerating. So once again, the message from Black Men Speak. If you're a family that can afford to homeschool your kids, you may be better. You may better serve them by doing that rather than pushing them into these failing public schools where they warehouse our kids and don't teach them anything, Tom.
Gotcha. One more last thing, and I will make, we can talk about this probably after the fact, but I did want to spend just a couple of minutes, and we talked about this briefly last year, was African Liberation Day, something that quite frankly, a lot of folks probably have never heard of. African Liberation Day is celebrated by several African communities around the world, not just on the continent, and is a permanent mass institution in the worldwide Pan-African movement. Of course, we've had a couple of our speakers, including Uncle Asar, talk about the Pan-African movement, but the day is observed in countries like Ghana, Kenya, Spain, Tanzania, the United Kingdom, the United States, which includes formal gatherings with panel discussions, marches, university lectures. In the United States, the day is commemorated in the form of symposiums where people around the country are invited to attend to participate in political and social issues. It was founded originally during the first conference of independent African states hosted in Ghana on April the 15th, 1958, which attracted many African leaders and political activists. Government representatives from 8 independent African states attended the conference, which was the first Pan-African conference on the continent. The purpose was to annually mark the liberation movement's progress and to symbolize the determination of the people of Africa to free themselves from foreign domination and exploitation by European states. Between 1958 and 63, the class struggle grew bigger in Africa and around the world. 17 countries in Africa won their independence in 1960 alone, which was proclaimed the year of Africa. So on May 25th, 1963, 31 African leaders convened a summit meeting to found the Organization on African Unity, and pretty much they celebrate African Liberation Day on May the 25th, Jimmy. So I just wanted to bring some attention and awareness to this movement that has been going on for well over half a century, Jimmy. For folks who may want to find out a little bit more about this, just Google on African Liberation Day in the United States. There are events in Charlotte, Atlanta, Oakland, Orlando, and of course, Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay, cool.
All right, Jimmy, let's kind of get to some meat and potatoes on a couple stories, and we can, I will let you
do that. It was a quarter till, so let's get our second music history out of the way, and then we will spend the last remaining time on the couple of stories we have left.
Gotcha.
All right, here we go. Everybody, get your fingers ready.
All right.
Here's our fork in the road, love's last episode. There's nowhere to go. Oh no, you made your choice. Now it's up to me to bow out gracefully, though you hold the key. But baby, whenever you call me, I'll be there. Whenever you want me, I'll be there. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be around.
All right.
All right, this is a group.
Okay, so
Well,
we have
yeah,
literally
Judge.
almost got a tie here. So we have Uncle Asar again, spinners whenever you call me. And then we had Audrey K. Booker almost at the same time. Spinners, I'll be around. But what was the name of the song? Was it I'll be around or whenever you call me?
I'll be around.
I'll be around. Okay, so it looks like it's a split. So
Okay.
Uncle Asar got the group, the Spinners, and Audrey K. Booker got the correct title, which is I'll Be Around.
Man, the men are representing today.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Okay, so Audrey K., she gets a point, and then Uncle Asar gets a point for being the first. Uncle Asar with the group, and then, of course, Audrey K. With the name
Oh,
of
I
the
was
song.
thinking about Brother Frederick. Okay, you said Audrey. Okay. So then
Yeah,
the
it was
lawyers
Audrey
are
K.
coming up.
She was the first one to say, I'll be around.
Okay, then that's correct. All right, Tom, let's go into our next story then.
All right, do we want to start with Diddy or do we want to start with Dr. Umar? And of course, we've got some advice we've got to give for Grime Kitty towards the end of the show, but we'll wait till the end of the show for the advice.
Okay. Well, let's start with the worst of it, Tom. Let's start with
Okay.
with Puffy, P Daddy, Diddy, whatever he calls himself. Um, I, I know we wanted to have some video of tonight, but I think we've all seen the video of what happened in the hotel, and evidently that was the tip of the iceberg, not the iceberg, not the body of the ice itself. That's the part we've seen, but there evidently there's more that we haven't seen. And let me just
Yes.
say this, Tom, for a person who's well positioned in society with wealth and influence, an opportunity to do so much good, for him to end up being this kind of a scum individual to do this gives black men, give men period, but certainly give black men a bad image, and he should be ashamed of himself. And Tom, we should all, when I say we, I mean the body, the family, should ostracize him from society. Don't support his company. Don't support the music, the record, any venture that he's involved in. Don't acknowledge him. Don't accept him. Don't bring him to award shows. Just cut him loose, Tom. At some point, we have to not accept this kind of behavior. And I'm just not buying the apology or the rehabilitation or therapy that he claims that he's involved in. As far as I'm concerned, he's scum. He's been scum. And, rather than taking what God gave him, the opportunity to do something good, this is a body of work that he's producing. And I'm done with pity. Puffy, Diddy, Pity, whatever his name is, I'm done with him.
Well, Jimmy, there's one thing that it's an old saying that says power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We can talk about that on so many different scales, including, of course, the U.S. government, but that's for another day at another different time. But, it's unfortunate, and this has been unlayering for several years, as women in this country and black women in particular are benefiting from what I guess was started kind of as a mantra of the Me Too movement, where, you had folks in power that had a lot of money, a lot of power, a lot of influence, a lot of prestige that controlled and were captains of industry. And they got away with, God forbid, a lot of stuff, much of which we will probably ever know, but because they had money, power, influence, they were able to make a lot of things just go away. And as a country, you know, because of our culture, how this country was created and founded, we live in a cesspool, literally, because this country was founded based upon principles that it never lived up to, in my opinion, still has not lived up to and has a long way from doing so. And so when you think about things like this, but it's a black man in particular that makes it a lot more problematic, because we understand, and Malcolm said it best, women are the least protected of anybody on this earth. And because they are a part of a class of people who were, of course, enslaved, incarcerated, exploited in every sense of the word since the founding of this country, this is just unfortunately a continuation of this, but it makes it double or probably 10x worse when you have a black man in a position of power who does this to a sister. And the question becomes, you know what? As a community, we don't have the power, in my opinion, I could be wrong, to truly hold him accountable to the degree to which he should be, because I think he settled a lawsuit with Cassie, and I forget the sister's last name. I think there was a lawsuit that was settled, but CNN,
she settled the very next day after she filed the lawsuit.
Right, the next day, because when it came out, it was so egregious. He was like, "No, let's get this, let's make this go away." But then, of course, he was claiming that, you know what, I didn't do anything. As my uncle would say, everything's gonna come out in the wash. Everybody's trying to attack me. He was on that mantra until this video came out and CNN got its hands on. All of a sudden now, he wants to be apologetic. He wants to take responsibility. When up to that point, he had all of this stuff out in social media saying that, you know what, I'm innocent. It wasn't that bad. I just need this to go away, and people are just attacking me.
Well, Tom, the sad thing is that we as a country, we tend to forgive those who ask for forgiveness. So we're a very forgiving country, and I think there'll be people out there that will forgive them. Me personally, I'm not one of them. So not that he needs my forgiveness, but he'll never get it. And I'm hoping that the rest of the family will draw the line and just say no. Then you don't get forgiveness for. There are some things, like you said, we need, as black men, we need to protect our women and children, and we need to do a better job of doing that. And it doesn't help that so many look up to him, and he's used his position of power and influence and perverted it, for sexual gratification, for power gratification, just to be abusive. And, you're right. That's what happens when you have no restraints placed on you and you're just free to do whatever you feel like you want to do. Well, the restraints that keep us all in order, Tom, is that we try to do either follow the law or we try to follow God's law, or both. And those are the restrictions that are placed on us and that we try to do our best to live up to. Obviously, he doesn't care about the law and I don't think he has any religious affiliation other than TD Jakes and having their twerking parties. Yeah, he gets no forgiveness from me, Tom. As far as I'm concerned, he's scum. He's been scum, and he will always be scum until I see differently.
The question is this. In the court of law, we have very little power. Economically, and when I say we, I'm talking about our community. In terms of influencing what the courts are doing, we have a little power. We have a lot of power to influence it. We don't exercise it intelligently enough. I guess that's maybe the better statement. But as a community, how do we affect change? How do we control power? Even beyond what Diddy has done, we can't even begin to count the folks who maybe don't have this power, maybe don't have this influence, but it happens every day and we just look the other way.
Tom, we need to have a renaissance period, a new renaissance period, where we focus and devote ourselves to more positive endeavors. So for black men, I was happy when we had the Million Man March. I was very disappointed that a few weeks after that, all the energy and enthusiasm was pretty much gone. the wind was out of the sail and it was just back to normal. We need to commit ourselves to improving ourselves, become better. God did not make the effort to move us from Africa to America. For at least anywhere from 12 to 20 million were tossed into the ocean to feed the sharks during the Middle Passage, to enslave 12 million people, and for us to catch hell during slavery, after slavery, and still fighting for some semblance of freedom and equality in this country. And I would like to think that it was all done for a purpose. We need to figure out what that purpose is and start living up to it. And it's not to be the low man on the totem pole when it comes to American society. Tom, we made too much of an investment in this country through our skills, through our work, through our skin, through our blood effort, to now find ourselves being pushed further and further back behind immigrants who are Johnny come lately. I'm not anti-immigrant. I just believe that we've paid the price. We've laid down and using our bodies, our sweat, our tears to help make America great, and we're not reaping the benefit of that now. Others are coming to this country in droves because they see some of the benefits of being an American. And Tom, these are benefits that are gladly being given out by a lot of governments, overlooking the fact that still Black people catching hell in poverty, living on the streets, where our problem that you're overlooking. And these are the very people who've been here for 400 years helping to build the damn country. So, you need to do for yours first before you do for others, is my opinion. And that's just how I feel about it. So
I would agree with you, Jimmy. And as we kind of close this segment out, and I know this will probably be ongoing because I don't think this is going to be the end of the story. We're going to continue to talk about this because this is really epidemic. And when we talk about violence in this country, which one issue, we talk about violence against women, which is another issue, violence against Black women, which has been an ongoing issue since our ancestors have been in this country. So this is something that we have to, as men, own, take responsibility for. Check men, even if they are stronger than us, older than us, are more revered than us. I don't care if they're in the pulpit. I don't care if they're in your family. You've got to own and take responsibility for it because there is no way to begin to. I'm not concerned about anybody else's community, but within ours, we've got so many issues that we have to deal with that we have to own and take responsibility and have the courage, even at the possibility of having to die for what we believe is the right thing to do based upon principle, Jimmy. And there's no way to. Why don't we do this? We do have a question for some advice by Grime Kitty. I don't know who Grime Kitty is, but that's what her name is. And I'm going to kind of give you an overview of what she's asking about for advice, and then we'll close the show since we're right at the top of the hour. She has a friend who is overweight and drinks every day. And I'm going to give you the highlights. He tried to exercise, started walking a couple of miles a day, but some of the local bullies would make fun of him for trying. So he became depressed and stopped. How can he overcome his fear of being judged and stick to his exercise routine? He has diabetes and he is overweight, drinks every day. Nothing can get through to him, and it feels like he's given up on life.
Okay, Tom, that's a pretty tough one. And it's unfortunate that there are people out there who are sort of putting the young man down for trying to improve himself. That happens all too often in our society when people look and see that you're trying to do something positive, and all they think about is that you think you're better than me or you're going to leave me behind. So rather than lift you up, they do everything possible to tear you down. But here's where strength of character is going to have to prevail. You can't allow the opinions of others to outweigh your opinion. Some people think that I'm a little egotistical, but I probably say that the only opinion that really matters truly in my life is mine. That, friends, family, love, other people around me, I may consider your opinion, but in the bigger picture, when it ultimately comes down to, is I have to value my opinion because I know me better than anyone else over anything that you have to say about me. So I hope this young man can refocus his life to live and not give in to drinking, overeating, not exercising. These are the things when you have diabetes. And trust me, I've been a victim of diabetes. I've lost part of my leg due to diabetes. So now I have a handicap. So I know how serious diabetes is, even when you think that you're doing okay. So I had to lose a ton of weight, being almost 350 to 400 pounds in order to deal with it. So I hope this young man can find a way to get back on track. And if you need someone to be in your corner to give you words of support, please have your friend reach out to me. You can search VGR Stewart and find my contact information. I have a website, vgrstewart.com. Go there where I mentor young men to be better fathers and husbands and people. But yeah, go to the website, find my contact information, reach out to me. I'll be glad to work with the young man to let him know that somebody's in his corner who knows what he's going through and why he needs to continue to put forth the effort because his life is worth living. Don't give it up because some ignorant people who are afraid that you're going to outdo them or surpass them or leave them behind somehow by getting yourself in shape and living.
There are a couple of things I want to highlight that have shown up on the chat line. One note from Audrey K. Booker: keep encouraging your friend. Bullies seek attention that they lack and hide behind their insecurities. Tell them to stay the course and to know greater is he within himself. And that is great advice. Let me see if I have any other advice on here. Let me see here. Okay, nothing. He spends a lot of his money on alcohol. Please have him reach out to Harmony CDC for support. That's coming from John Williams. For your friend, please have him reach out to Harmony CDC for support. I'm on the board of directors. And of course, that's the great John Williams, CPA, who is advice. And then also, sometimes you need a change of scenery. And I'm talking about the people that you are around and who you are connected with. There are a lot of support groups out there. I know that this is an epidemic health issue within our community because I believe the last time I checked, and that's been probably a decade ago, 80% of the sisters in our community are overweight or obese. Close to 70% of the men in our community are overweight or obese. This is a literal sentence to misery and or death that has to change, but we have to make some decisions, very concrete decisions as to what's important. But as far as the friend in particular, this isn't something that you have to do more than pray. You have to get up and get up and do something about it. Get up, start, if it's just walking around the block, starting, to walk a mile, and then get together with some groups of guys. You are not the only one by far who is out there struggling with this issue. And a lot of times it is just as much psychological as it is physical. The key is starting and building momentum, getting people around you who are positive and constructive and will support you. It is much easier to do things in groups. There is a saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Right. So very true, Tom. So very true.
All right, Jimmy, that is about it. What we will do is we will defer our conversation on Dr. Umar and the church until next week. We'll pick that up next week, and I'm sure there will be a couple of other things. We haven't had a chance to talk about the NBA playoffs in a few weeks, and we'll probably talk a little about
Mavs are going to win in 4-2, Tom.
Okay, so you got the Mavs 4-2. All right. In that case, we want to thank everybody for your contribution. There is one question. Do you think that if Diddy would have been beating a white woman like that,
he would have been to jail no matter if the statute of limitation had already run? There's no way in the world a famous black man is going to beat a white woman on video.
No, let me finish this. Now, do you think that if Diddy would have been beating a white woman like that, that white men would have been silent? Is what
they wouldn't have.
Gotcha.
They would have used all their influence on media legally they would definitely be speaking up, Tom. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
there's just no way. And it's not just white men, but it's like society in general. But the black woman is just not looked upon the same way as white women as far as value. But despite that, black people, black men need to value our black women
Yes.
and our young women, our young girls, and our women. Period. Mothers, wives, the sisters out there. Tom, we need to speak up, even if society doesn't. We need to be
Correct.
the warriors that God made us to be.
We do have one other comment regarding Miss Kitty's friend, and she said, Miss Kitty, the root of his problem is alcoholism. Start with encouraging him to get that help first. So
Right.
she's recommending start with the alcoholism, and then that will help hopefully solve the problems with the weight issue as well. All right, Jimmy, that's all we've got for today. Again, if you've not liked this show, please like so we can make sure we get this out
Subscribe.
to other people so they can get the benefit as well.
Subscribe and hit that notification bell.
All right, folks, we want to thank you again. We will see you next Wednesday because, of course, if it is Wednesday night, Jimmy.
It's certainly Black Man Speak.
Good night, everyone.